Good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to wait a couple of more minutes until the rest comes and then we'll begin.
السلام عليكم.
دكتور مساء الخير.
مساء النور.
هو احنا هنمتحن الاول ولا في ليكتشر الاول؟
الامتحان بكرة مش النهارده.
والله
on the 20th.
تمام اوكي تمام يا دكتور اوكي.
I'm just waiting. It's 2:03. We'll begin 2:05 to give the rest of the people a chance to come. Is Abnoob Fathi here? Abnoob Gamal?
Yes, doctor.
Okay.
موجود يا دكتور. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Ahmed Hamdi? Ahmed Mansour? أحمد محمد طارق إبراهيم.
مساء الخير يا دكتور، مع حضرتك.
مساء النور. أحمد محمد أحمد جاد.
آمن مع حضرتك يا دكتور، صح؟ آمن؟
أيمن أنا أسفة.
مع حضرتك.
Promise next time I'll say it right.
No problem.
أميرة أيمن.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
آية عصام.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
آية طارق. إسلام يحيى.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
فرح حسام. فاطمة أحمد.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
هاجر السيد.
أي دكتور معاكي.
أوكي. هنان محمد أحمد. هبة عزت.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
هشام عصام. إسلام محروس.
اسلام محروس يا دكتور، أجل المادة مع حضرتك.
أوكي. خالد محمد.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
خلود أسامة.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
محمود عبد العزيز.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
مي جمال.
ايوه دكتور مع حضرتك.
أوكي. محمد عبد الحميد.
ايوه دكتور معاكي.
محمد مصطفى. أسامة أشرف.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
أوكي. سمر محمد.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
سارة السيد. سارة السيد. شادي حسن. زياد عبد النبي.
دكتور بعد إذنك سارة بعت على الجروب إن الكهرباء قطع وهتجوين تاني. تمام؟
اوكي. زياد عبد النبي. ميرنا ملك.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
اوكي. عبير أحمد.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
محمد عبد القادر.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور.
اوكي. ثانك يو.
دكتور مع حضرتك أحمد حمدي حسين، الشهادة كندتي عليا.
What's your name?
أحمد حمدي حسين.
Ahmed Hamdi. Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome. Inshallah, tomorrow will be your exam. If you go on the Moodle, the recordings, under the recordings, it's titled exam. There's a midterm exam. If you click on it, The exam will open tomorrow at 2 p.m. sharp, and it will end 4 p.m. It's a 2-hour exam. The exam, as I said before, it's going to be multiple choice. It's going to reflect the variables, basic or applied research, and it's going to be 10 easy multiple choice regarding step 1 to step 5. Now, the exam takes 1 hour to complete. I gave you an hour so you can take your time while answering the questions, because you cannot navigate through the questions. Once you press next, you won't be able to return back. So please take your time in reading. Don't rush. You have plenty of time. The exam is 30 questions.
دكتور
Yes.
انا احمد منصور يا دكتور. انا بس كان عندي مشكله في النت وكنت فاتح بس الصوت كان عندي فيه مشكله.
Okay, Ahmed Mansour. Okay. Any questions related to the exam? It will take place tomorrow, inshallah. Today, we're going to continue.
دكتور معلش هو
Yes.
سؤال، هو احنا المفروض ان احنا هناخد ميد ترم والفاينل بقى صح؟ يعني في 2 exams.
I have, there's a final research report. Quiz, the research quiz, it is optional depending on how you feel your progress is in the report. We will talk about it next lecture. Okay? Because some people, they worry that the reported 60 points is a lot. So they want to take an easy quiz worth 20 points to get it over with. I prefer the quiz. Something simple, true and false, to get points. So yeah, to answer your question, so I don't talk a lot. Is there a final quiz? Yes, there's a big chance, yes. Okay, plus final report and presentation. Last lecture, we began to discuss our first step in conducting primary research. So last lecture, we said starting from step 6, the primary research process, it begins with the research design. Research design is necessary before the marketeer enters the market and collects their data. Why? Starting from step 6, we're building our rigorousness when it comes to how to conduct an investigation. What is a research design? Simply put it, we said that it refers to the overall strategy that you choose to apply in order to study your research topic. We said that the research design, it's like a blueprint. Okay, this blueprint illustrates the research implementation. The implementation includes how you, the marketeer, will enter the market. Why did you enter the market? How will you measure the variables? How will you collect the data? How will you analyze the data? So when designing your overall strategy, there are several components. There are several questions you have to ask yourself, and you have to decide which approach you will use. In order to decide which approach you will use, you have to know what each option means. This is the research design. So the elements or the questions that you should decide in order to create your master plan is the following. The purpose, why you decided to continue on the primary investigation, the extent of the research interference, the study setting, the time horizon, the population and sampling, and how you will collect the data. Last lecture, we took step 1 all the way until sampling. Today, we're going to begin the data collection. Okay, the purpose of the study. As a researcher, you conducted secondary data. You read what other studies have found out. In your readings, couldn't you have understood the solution to your problem? Of course. But keep in mind, when it comes to secondary data, it is research conducted in a different context. So who said your context, what is going to apply the same rules as another study's context? So when it comes to why you conducted research, there's two motives. Why you decided to further continue the primary investigation. It could be either exploratory or it could be descriptive. When it comes to exploratory, this means I deciding to go to the market and collect my own data, because when I was doing the literature review, I found out that there is lack of knowledge. There is very few secondary data or literature regarding the topic I want to study. So my goal here is to explore the problem even more, explore the situation even more, and develop insights to be published so other people can have a literature review on the topic. So when we talk about an exploratory study, it's undertaken when not much is known about the situation at hand, or no information is available on how similar problems or research issues have been solved. A perfect example of exploratory purpose of research is during 2020, when marketeers wanted to know, how do consumers react to a global pandemic? Or how should I market my business in a global pandemic? Or what is the impact of business models during a global pandemic? If you have researched this topic during this period, you'll find out that there's not a lot of articles. Therefore, as a researcher, I'm going to do my own primary research to collect my primary data because there was insufficient information that is published. Exploratory purpose. When it comes to descriptive study, when I did the literature review, there's a lot of information about my topic. Does this mean I shouldn't choose or study this topic? The answer is no. As I said before, when you do the literature review, when you read research papers, they're from other contexts, whether the Asian context or the Western context. Who said that what applies in these nations apply in the Middle East? Let's say you saw an article about the Middle East. Who said what applies in Saudi Arabia applies in Egypt? Maybe you saw an article in Egypt. Okay, great. Who said what applies in Cairo applies in Alex? Or it was in Alex and I'm studying Alex, but this paper was done in 2018. Okay, in 2022, would it still work? So the idea of descriptive research, the purpose for doing primary investigation, the purpose for you to go in the market to find and solve your problem, it's because you want to confirm the variables. You want to confirm the solutions you have read and see if it's still applicable. So when I have a descriptive research purpose, my purpose for conducting more of my study, it's to explain, to clarify, or to justify my topic and the variables that I'm studying in the current scenario, in the current context, whether it's academic context, time context, or social context. The focus here is not why, but what are the factors that are still relevant, that are still significant, that are still applicable. So I do descriptive research to compare back what past studies have said and the current situation right now. Is it the same or did it change? So when it comes to descriptive research, I seek to describe the data and the characteristics about what is being studied. It doesn't answer the question why or how, but it answers the question, what are the factors that impact my topic? According to past studies, they say it's 1, 2, 3. Is it still the same? Yes or no? This is descriptive research. Okay. The next point. كده في أي أسئلة regarding exploratory purpose and descriptive purpose? Yes, no, maybe?
لو سمحت يا دكتور.
Yes, اتفضلي.
يعني ده الديسكريبت اللي هو الديسكريبتيف ريسيرش ده that means ان الجول عندنا بيبقى just to describe and identify just.
ايوه سمر، لما
نعم.
عملت literature review I had a problem.
Yeah.
ولما قريت لقيت solutions كتيرة، لقيت factors كتيرة ممكن يأثر.
Yes.
أني واحدة فعليا بيأثر هنا في مصر في سنة 2022. So أنا حامل البحث عندي، هنزل السوق، ألم data, analyze the data for confirmation.
Yeah.
For contextual confirmation. Context means the scenario, the situation right now. This is descriptive purpose.
Yeah.
ما فيش حاجة اسمها there's a topic that has been studied a lot بقت خلاص معروفة. لا. كل سنة ممكن تلاقي حاجة جديدة.
بتختلف. Yeah.
Exactly. Descriptive purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. For example, if we're going to do a research, if World War III was to happen, how would marketeers apply their marketing practices? If I'm going to do a literature review, آخر بحث اتعمل كان إمتى? Is there any recent knowledge in the literature review regarding this issue? Maybe not. So before I test hypothesis, المفروض I understand more about the topic, about how people feel, about what are the mandatory products to be purchased, and then I collect my data. So exploratory study, I do it because I feel or I see there's insufficient amount of knowledge. So I'm going to create the knowledge in the literature review to fill in the gaps. سمر كده وضحت؟
تمام يا دكتور. It's clear. Thank you.
Okay. لكل الناس. Okay. The next element in designing or planning our research is the extent of research interference. Extent of research interference. When you plan to test your model or when you plan to collect information, would you like to add effects? Would you like to add a stimuli or an external element in order to speed up or to clarify a specific point? Some people would, some people wouldn't. Some people prefer to guide the minds of the participants, and some people want to leave it open. It's up to you. So your choices is, would you like interference or would you like minimum interference? So if you will have interference in your research design, you will explain how will you interfere when it comes to collecting your data, and why do you need this interference? If you're not going to interfere, you're going to write minimum interference, meaning you're just going to distribute the questionnaire and stay to the side. Or you're going to send the link to the questionnaire for them to fill out, and they fill out whenever they want and they resend it to you. You're not going to guide their minds. Now, when it comes to interference, many students say that this is discrimination or this is bias. No. The answer or the reason why I interfere is I want to set an example so people can answer my questions to the point, not misunderstand the questions and then answer something that doesn't reflect my main topic. Last lecture, I gave you an example. What is creative ads? And every single person has an idea of a creative ad. This idea, is it the same idea in the mind of the researcher? Maybe yes, maybe no. But for confirmation, هدي example. عشان كلنا نحل الكويشنير بنفس الفكر. Interference. So no, interference does not cause discrimination. No, interference doesn't cause bias في الداتا. Interference فكرتها ايه؟ اوجه بس الفهم بتاعهم. Just in case if they don't understand the topic. Okay. If you're going to do interference, there's a big chance you're going to do your research in a contrived or a controlled setting. So when it comes to where will you collect the information, when it comes to the study setting, عندنا نوعين. Artificial setting which is known as contrived, or we have natural setting, which is known as non-contrived. When it comes to the natural setting, this means that the researcher, he or she, will go to the people as the people live their day-to-day life, as people live their routine. I just will interrupt them for 5 minutes to fill out a questionnaire or to ask them certain questions وخلاص يكملوا حياتهم عادي. Natural setting, natural environment. Artificial environment comes in two forms. Form number one, well, basically before I explain the form, when we talk about artificial setting or when we talk about contrived setting, this involves a creation of a study setting that is man-made. Something that's not real. It's not part of the natural setting. I have created it. Okay, so the man-made environment can come in two forms. Form number one, I rent a room specifically made to bring the people to participate, like the picture in front of you. Or example number two, in a natural setting, I'm going to hire an actor to play something to see people's reaction. Or in the natural setting, I'm going to play around with the soundtrack in a store, like the example I gave you last week, when I wanted to know the impact of music on people. بدل ما استنى أغنية معينة ما أنا أحط الأغنية. أنا حطيت الأغنية, is this natural? لا, I interfered. And I created something fake or something that's not natural, but it's planted. Planting stuff is man-made environment. So far, so good? So now, a study setting. هتخلي ناس يقولك ولا أنت هتروحي لهم. If they come to you, it's artificial. If you go to them, it's natural. Okay, if you go to them, are you going to play around with the natural setting? Yes, it's artificial. No, then you're back to the natural setting. Okay. Element, the next element, time horizon. How many times will you enter the market to collect the data? Is once enough, or you have to collect data from different time intervals? So when it comes to time horizon, people or researchers have two choices: longitudinal or cross-sectional. When it comes to a longitudinal study, this is known as the researcher has to collect data in different time intervals, in different time periods, because it is important in order to solve the problem. One time is not enough. When it comes to longitudinal study, this is usually undertaken when you're doing a cause and effect research, or when you're doing a before and after research. For example, I want to assess the outcome of the master program. I want to know, do we meet students' needs or students' expectations? Yes or no? So I might go in the market and distribute questionnaires to students. They still did not enroll in the master program. أشوف رأيهم إيه في idea taking a master. Then, after 2 years, I might come back again to collect data to see now what's their expectation. Did we meet your expectation, yes or no? مش شرط بعد السنتين, ممكن after 2 months. I come again. When you have your first course, how did you feel? So the idea of longitudinal study is the idea of repeated studies over an extended period of time. Collecting data more than once in an extended period of time is necessary in order to solve my problem. Okay. Cross-sectional means that I don't have to, or there's no different timings that I have to enter the market in order to answer my research problem. Entering the market just once is enough. So when we talk about cross-sectional study, we're talking about the researcher, he or she just needs to go to the market مرة واحدة بس. we lim a target number, whether it's 350, 500, whatever the number is. انت وشطارتك هتعرف تلم how many questionnaires in how many days. So when it comes to cross-sectional, the idea is the researcher enters the market once, but this period can be days or weeks or month, depending on when he meets the target. لغاية كده, is it okay? In this course or in this research project, it's going to be cross-sectional. هنلم data مرة في أسبوع لغاية لما meet the target, and then we'll analyze it, cross-sectional. Population.
دكتور يعني
Yes.
اللونجيتيودينال كده، يعني انا بعمل على انترفالز، يعني باجي مثلا في يومين 3 اجمع ستاديز وبعدين افصل مده وبعدين ارجع تاني وهكذا.
Yes. Yes, يا
تمام.
دكتور.
انما الكروس سكشنال خلاص انا عملتها وان شوت، انا مره واحده خدت بيريود معينه مره واحده ما بتتكررش. انما اللونجيتيودينال بكررها كل فتره. ده الفرق.
ده الفرق.
تمام. طب ماشي يا دكتور، يعني هو سؤال تاني. طب ايه طب ما انا كده يبقى بالنسبه لي لونجيتيودينال احسن، لان انا عندي تغيرات تشنجز ممكن تحصل، ابقى انا يعني ابقى دايما اب تو ديت. يعني انا الكروس سكشن خدتها مره واحده، ممكن يعني على ما اجي اخدها تاني هيبقى في تشنجز حصلت ما لحقتش انا ايه اكوبز. انما اللونجيتيودينال ممكن تخليني على انترفالز صغيره، تمام، بس انا يعني كوب اب جزء اللي هو التشنجز الموجوده، ولا انا يعني عندي ميس اندرستاندينج في النقطه دي؟
You don't have a misunderstanding, but the idea here is, don't you begin step 3 with a specific research problem? Step 3, let's go back to the research steps. Step 3, you already identified what exactly you want to study in step 3. Now, this problem definition requires you to enter the market more than once or just once.
تمام اوكي تمام.
لو هي من أولها just once, خلاص you're going just once, you're going to analyze, you're going to develop conclusions to answer this specific research problem. Next year, will it change? There is a probability it will change, بس يبقى السنة الجاية يبقى تعمل بحث تاني.
تمام.
When it comes to longitudinal من أولها من step 3 معروفة إن لازم يبقى في different time intervals. For example, demand for ice cream. I want to investigate the seasonal demand for ice creams among consumer. So من أولها, I know that I have to enter the market 4 times in the 4 different seasons to answer my research problem. كده رديت على سؤالك يا خالد؟
تمام يا دكتور، تمام.
هي مش فكرة إذا كل سنة ممكن بيحصل تغيير، طبعا هيحصل تغيير، بس أنت البحث عندك الهدف اللي في الأول اللي أنت قررتها, the purpose that you have decided, did it require once or more than once from the market data collection?
تمام، يعني على حسب الاحتياج بمعنى أصح، يعني على حسب الاحتياج أو على حسب الريسيرش اللي أنا بعمله هيحتاج إيه، وأنا بقى إيه بمشي على حسب النمط اللي هو عايزه.
Exactly.
تمام.
عشان research design is step 6, that it's built upon what you did in step 3. Okay. Now, as a marketeer, as a researcher, we have said before that we know different groups of people, different segments of people, they act and behave differently. We said last lecture that it depends on the segment of people. They might have different opinions, different preferences, different attitudes, different intentions, different preferences towards my topic, towards various products and services, towards different fields. Therefore, when you conduct your research, you have to specify who exactly are you studying, because the outcome isn't going to be applied to every single segment of people. It's only going to be applied to a specific group of people. Who is this group? The group of people you want to study, we call them the population of the research. The population of the research are the target population in marketing terminology. Okay, I chose a segment or the specific group of people I want to satisfy, to study their behaviors, their attitudes. Now, as a researcher, do I study every single person in the population? The answer is no. It is not necessary to study everyone. And sometimes it is not feasible. So when it comes to studying a population, you don't have to study every single person. You just have to select a sample that represents the population. So when we talk about sampling, we're talking about picking certain people to represent the whole group. So the idea of sampling, it's the process of drawing a subset of people from the population. So the results will be generalized on all of them. As a researcher, how do I select the people? You have two options. You have probability sampling and you have non-probability sampling. My question to you, as a researcher or as a marketeer, do you know every single person in the population, either by name or by code or by ID number? Yes or no? If yes, then you have an option to conduct probability sampling. If no, then by default, you only have the non-probability sampling approach. What's the difference? When it comes to a probability sampling, it means that as a researcher, you know everyone in the population because you're able to collect a sampling frame. What is a sampling frame? It's a list that has every single person in the population. Now, because you have a list of every single person in the population, this means that every member of the population has a known and equal chance of being selected. عشان خلاص كلهم موجودين في الليستة. No one is avoided. If your name is on the list, then you have an equal chance. You have a chance greater than 0 to be selected. Therefore, because I have you in the list, everyone has a fair chance of being selected. Everyone has an equal chance of being selected. Everyone is known. Okay. Non-probability sampling means that not everyone is known. Therefore, مش هعرف أوصل لكل حد في population. ما أعرفش مين أصلاً جوه population. So because I don't know every single person in the population, that means not every single person that represents this population has an equal chance of being selected. This sampling technique means that the members that I want to study, I cannot calculate the percentage of selection. The selection is subjective. اللي موجود قدامي هو اللي عنده probability of being selected. اللي هعرف أوصل له, he has the probability of being selected. Other than that, no, I cannot select anyone else. I cannot select anyone that is not in front of me. So back to probability. Everyone has an equal chance of being selected. How do I select them? How do I select the population? Through 3 approaches. We spoke about them last lecture. We said you can do random sampling, you can do stratified sampling, or you can do cluster sampling. When it comes to random sampling, it means I'm going to take the list of the people, the sampling frame, and I'm going to use a number generator. A number generator means a number that I will use to pick from the list. For example, my favorite number is 5. So كل 5 هختارهم من الليستة. كل 5 هختارهم من الليستة. This is probability sampling. But let's say, like last lecture, we said, imagine if the even numbers are females and the odd numbers are males. And my generator made me select all even numbers. Would the population be represented? It wouldn't. So I'm going to use stratified random sampling. What is the idea of stratified random sampling? I'm going to divide the population into mutually exclusive groups. Groups that are meaningful to me, that I want them in my study. I want to understand their viewpoint regarding my topic. So هقسمهم in mutually exclusive groups. يعني يفرق معايا اخد males and females into perspective. يفرق معايا اخد ناس من القاهرة واسكندرية. يفرق معايا اخد ناس term 1 و term 2. Once I divide the population into mutually exclusive groups, I will go to each group and then randomly select من الليستة. ماشي. Let's say in my study ما يفرقش معايا viewpoints. كلهم واحد بالنسبة لي. And for example, this course, if I want to assess the quality of the content, يفرق معايا male and female? لا. يفرق معايا سن age؟ يفرق معايا انتم ساكنين فين؟ لا. But let's say the list, it's 200 pages. وكل صفحة في 100 اسم. يبقى عندي 2000 اسم. Excuse me, I have 20,000. And I only want to do a study of 50 individuals. 50 نفر ممكن أخلصها في أول صفحتين 3. يبقى كده الناس اللي ورا في الليست, do they have an equal chance, a fair chance? مش قوي. So in order to increase the fairness, لو الليستة طويلة قوي ممكن أقسم الليستة into 3 groups. مش مهم على أساس إيه. They're heterogeneous, the groups. يعني if I have a 200-page list, I can do 2 groups. Each group has 100 pages. And from each group, I will randomly select. This is called cluster sampling. This is called cluster sampling. When the total population is divided into smaller groups, the smaller groups of clusters, and then from each cluster, I randomly select. The purpose here is to increase the chances of selection, to make it more fair. Okay, in this course, معظم the topics that you have chosen does not have a sampling frame. For example, I want to study those who use Facebook. Can you get a list of everyone who uses Facebook? That's صعب. Let's say my topic is about youth and young adults. Do you know every single person that is categorized as youth and young adults? The answer is no. So there's a big chance, no, it's not a big chance. In this course, we are all going to be non-probability sampling. The population that we are studying, they have no chance of selection if they're not, some elements of the population have no chance of selection because I don't know everyone in the population. So the selection is based on subjectivity. In order to do non-probability sampling, you have to do step 1. You have to do step 1, a checklist. You have to identify what categories of people are you aiming to select. For example, I want people who have a Facebook account. I want people who have a credit card. I want people who shopped in store X. I want married individuals. I want individuals with children, whatever your criteria is. And then you will go in the market with your checklist and then begin to choose people that meet this requirement. عشان كده it's subjective. المكان اللي انت رحتها الناس اللي كانوا موجودين هم اللي عندهم chance of selection. اللي كانوا في البيت ما عندهمش chance of selection. So in order to do non-probability sampling, there's several approaches. Convenience, quota, and snowball. Convenience sampling means that the researcher will approach people that is easy to contact and easy to reach. I'm going to example, stand in a mall. اللي موجود في المall he will participate or she will participate. اللي مش موجود في المall خلاص they don't have a chance. Convenience sampling. Okay, let's say my population is difficult to find. I was only able to find 10 and I need 300. So I need the help of other people. Then I'm going to do snowball sampling. What is snowball sampling? It's the idea that I'm going to have other people help me out in reaching the population. My population is difficult to find on my own. So I'm going to find one participant who has the criteria. I will interview him or I will make him fill out a questionnaire. بعدين هسأله ممكن لو عندك صحابك نفس الكرايتيرياز اللي عندك توزع لي الquestionnaires. If he or she says yes, then I will give him the questionnaire to distribute on my behalf. That's why sometimes in the textbook, snowball sampling is called referral sampling. Referral sampling. Okay. Quota sampling. Quota sampling. أنا كان نفسي أعمل probability sampling. بس للأسف ما عرفتش أجيب sampling frame. I want to be as much as possible generalizable to the population. I want to make sure that every single person has a say, depending on the characteristics. So the idea of quota sampling, it's also known as the non-probability version of stratified sampling. Meaning that before I conveniently select people from the population, هشوف الأول مين عايزاه يبقى جوه in my study. Who do I really want to study? Do you want to study those in Alex and Cairo? Do you want to study different age groups? Do you want to study different income levels? So step one in quota sampling is to divide the population into mutually exclusive groups. Divide the population in traits and qualities that you feel is necessary to have their views in your study, because they will help you study the problem. Once you divide the market into mutually exclusive group, هتخش in each group and conveniently select them. Is this clear?
تاني يا دكتور كده بعد إذنك.
Okay. I want to study. What's your topic on? Let's begin your topic. What's your topic on?
أنا الجروب بتاعي يا دكتور
Yeah.
fashion product.
Fashion products? Okay. Fashion products. If I do conveniently, I don't know who. ما عنديش لستة ناس اللي بيشتروا fashion. عندك لستة ناس اللي بيشتروا fashion؟
لا.
لا. So I have to do non-probability sampling. Not everyone has an equal chance of being selected عشان ما عنديش لستة الناس أختار منهم. ماشي. Fashion products. هتسأل مين بالضبط؟ مين مهم تسأله؟
كاتيجوري معين، يعني مثلا اللي هو اليانج ادلت، لان هم هيبقوا مهتمين باللي هو الفاشن، او يعني الكاتيجوري اللي انا بشتغل عليه بسبب سيجمنت معين هيكون هو اليانج ادلت.
اوكي. اشتروا ماركات قبل كده؟
نعم.
اشتروا brands? Did they purchase brands before?
ممكن ماشي يعني مثلا كان ليهم اكسبيرينس مع براند معين.
Do they have to have a credit card ولا مش شرط؟
تاني كده يا دكتور معلش الصوت.
Do they have to have a credit card?
No.
No. Okay. Do they have to be married ولا no?
تاني يا دكتور.
لازم يبقوا متجوزين ولا لا مش شرط؟
مش شرط، مش حاجة يعني لازمة يعني عشان اخد عليها سيرفي يعني، لا.
خلاص ماشي. انت من اسكندرية ولا من القاهرة؟
انا لا، غربية.
غربية. Okay. Let's say you collected data from الغربية. بس مش مفروض أحسن من القاهرة واسكندرية يبقى more beneficial in your study؟ عشان Cairo and Alex, this is where the fashion brands are located. More.
تمام.
So here, ما ينفعش I cannot do convenience sampling. I cannot do convenience sampling بس في غربية. It's important, in my opinion, to have people also from Cairo and Alex. So what I'm going to do is what? I'm going to divide the population into 3 groups: Group A, Group B, and Group C. Gharbaya, Cairo, and Alex. So I can have important viewpoints mentioned, important or major viewpoints of people of fashion. So this is this is quota sampling. So quota sampling means that in order to do non-probability sampling, you must first divide the population into groups that you want to hear their views. So I want to hear Group A, Group B, and Group C views. مهمة أوي عندي. أو مش مهمة. It's beneficial to have their views. So this is step 1. Step 2, after dividing the population, I then select conveniently. Is this clear?
تمام.
لو كان convenient sampling هي one group وخلاص، مش فارقة معايا أجيب كايرو، أليكس، بورسعيد، مش فارقة معايا.
يعني طب ممكن اقول لك حاجه يا دكتور، يعني نعتبر ان الكوتا سامبلينج دي بري ستيب، تمام، بيتبعها الكونفينينس سامبلينج، او بمعنى اصح ان الكوتا سامبلينج ممكن تكون حاجه مصغره في النون بروبابيلتي من البروبابيلتي. يعني انا مش عايز اخد حاجه كبيره، ممكن اخد مثلا استقطاع منها جزء صغير.
ايوه، وكمان ما عنديش لستة الناس.
ما عنديش لستة الناس، انا ما يعني الموضوع بالنسبه لي مبهم، يعني لسه عايز اعمل segmentations من كل مثلا area.
Yes, exactly.
تمام.
Okay. ماشي. In this
يعني
course
convenience sampling خلاص دي ستارت على طول. convenience sampling دي ستارت على طول. الكود سامبلينج دي تعتبر يعني ممكن يعني بما انها ستيب بس بتبقى بري ستيب يتبعها convenience بعد كده.
Exactly.
تمام يا دكتور.
convenience ابتدي على طول. كود سامبل شوف مين الاول الموجود في البوبوليشن المهمه عندي، اذاكرها واختار بعد كده. Yes.
تمام يا دكتور.
Okay. Now we're going to move to data collection. When it comes to data collection, we have 2 approaches. We have qualitative approach and we have the quantitative approach. Now, is there a difference between qualitative and quantitative? Yes, there is. Are they substitutes? The answer is no. Each category or each research approach has or plays a different role. Each approach provides different kinds of knowledge to the marketeer. They are not substitutes. They can be complementary to one another. When it comes to what is the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research, الأسبوع اللي فات قلت المرة اللي فاتت قلت quantitative comes from numbers and qualitative comes from words and meanings. You are correct. When it comes to quantitative research, it is research where the data are in the form of numbers. Qualitative data, جاي من كلمة quality, it's in the form of words. برضو, what's the difference? When it comes to quantitative data, if you're going to have quantitative research approach, this means that your purpose is to test hypothesis. You want to develop facts. You want to develop confirmation. You want to develop a rule and say that this rule applies to everyone in society. In order to develop facts, in order to test hypotheses, لازم أرقام. Because we're going to do statistical analysis. We're going to do scientific analysis to test our hypotheses. Therefore, I need to collect data in the form of numbers so I can analyze through statistics. Okay, in order to test hypothesis, you have to ask a large number of people. ما ينفعش أسأل 5 وأقول ده Egyptian population عليهم 1 2 3. لا، هو 5 مش كفاية reflect رأي المصريين. It has to have a large number of participants. Okay, in order to do quantitative research, you have to collect data in numbers. How do you do this? By having and using only one tool. This tool is closed-ended questionnaires. There's only one tool for quantitative research, which is questionnaires. We'll go to questionnaires. ما فتحش الأسئلة open-ended. لا، بديهم options to select so I can count الردود بتاع الناس. Okay, there's one approach to conducting data collection in the quantitative. بس طريقة distribution of the questionnaire, this differs. It could be face-to-face, it could be on the telephone, it could be through emails, or it could be online. When it comes to qualitative, I am not testing hypotheses. The role of qualitative research is to explore my topic. So though my purpose is exploratory, I'm going to do qualitative research. If my purpose is descriptive, I'm going to do quantitative. The idea of qualitative, as I said last week, it's to develop stories, it's to develop explanations, it's to develop meaning, understanding the why, not the what. So I do qualitative to collect and to familiarize myself with the topic. I want to understand the concepts, the ideas, the thoughts, the opinions, the examples of people to help me fill in the gap of knowledge I could not find in the literature review. So when I collect qualitative information, it's people's story, it's people's stories, it's people's discussions. So the data is quality because the researcher, when he asks a question, the responses are in the form of narration. Narration that illustrates opinions, feelings, attitudes. Narration regarding information that you want, and you want it in a way that is very explanatory, that it explains itself, it's detailed. So when we come with qualitative, yes, the purpose is to explore. I'm analyzing, interpreting people's opinions. That's why the data is words, not numbers, because I want to know why. Because I'm collecting stories, I don't have to collect a lot of stories. I just need to collect enough stories to fill in the gap of knowledge that I don't understand. I'm not testing, I'm understanding. This is my purpose. I'm familiarizing myself. In order to familiarize yourself, the questions that you ask has to be open. Why do you shop online? Please explain. ما اقدرش اقول why do you shop online and give him a list of points. Imagine if there's a point أنا ما كتبتهاش. عمري ما هعرفها. So خليها open so he can explain or she can explain her opinion. Today we're going to talk about qualitative research. In this course, what is qualitative research? Qualitative research is used to explore and to explain. Qualitative data involves detailed verbal description of characteristics, cases, and settings. When it comes to qualitative research, it is difficult to measure, count, or express in numbers. When it comes to qualitative research, as a researcher, I have to be in the field. I have to interact with the participants. ما ينفعش أقعد بعيد. مش هينفع. So the researcher, they have to interact in the field in order to be able to collect rich information related to the social context, related to people's patterns, people's opinions. Now, when it comes to qualitative research, معلش, I'm repeating myself because I want it to stick. The researcher, he seeks not to test, but he seeks to tell a story. To tell a story of a particular group of people's experience. So he seeks words and explanations, not numbers. He wants the individual, whether I'm studying students or consumers or employees, to explain to me how they feel and to explain to me what I don't know. With qualitative research, I might seek to explore and gain explanation. Instead of reading, I'm listening. With qualitative research, I understand people. I understand their choices. I understand their thoughts. I understand their ideas. Because I get a chance to say, why do you say this? How? How so? So when it comes to qualitative data, people are understood more because they have a chance to illustrate what they're talking about, to give me examples, to pinpoint what exactly the researcher should know in order to improve the marketing problem. Now, usually, studies can either be qualitative or quantitative, but today many studies are mixed, both qualitative and quantitative. Many studies are mixed, both quantitative and qualitative. Now, why would I have a mixed research? Usually, in today's marketing research topics, they do mixed research because as a marketeer, I believe that qualitative research will add more value to my quantitative study because it will help me dig deeper into the trend. It will help me dig deeper in explaining why this hypothesis طلعت false or طلعت true. As a researcher, I use qualitative data to support my quantitative data. إزاي? When it comes to marketing research, qualitative research provides the researcher with more understanding of the phenomena. Qualitative research acts as supplementary material with my literature review. Supplementary material, yes. Qualitative provides you with more guidance in your study. So sometimes the researcher, he does qualitative or she does qualitative insights to gain guidance or to direct them in many decisions they have to make in the research design. It helps them guide and direct them in decisions they have to make in the research process أصلاً. For example, when I was doing the literature review, لقيت في variables كتيرة قوي موجودة بيأثر على my topic. أختار أني واحدة مهمة هنا في مصر. So I might begin my research by qualitative research. I open discussion with people so I can collect information on how to develop my conceptual framework. In the interview, for example, he mentioned variable A, B, and C. So خلاص هركز في A, B, and C. مش هركز في التانيين. عشان لما كلمت مع الناس، لما كلمت مع Egyptian consumers، ما قالوش الباقيين، قالوا بس الثلاثة ولا الأربعة دول. So qualitative research can help me select variables. Qualitative research can help me write hypotheses. Is it a direct relationship or an indirect relationship? Yani, when I did the literature review, when it comes to price and customer satisfaction, is it the more the price, the more the customer satisfaction, or the less the price, the more the customer satisfaction? ممكن بالكلام الناس في الانترفيوز ألاقي أو أعرف هنا في مصر الدايركشن بتاع hypothesis ممكن يبقى إيه. Qualitative research can help the researcher to understand which category of people to study, which category of people to focus on. The outcomes of the qualitative research can help you not from step 1 to step 6, but it can help you بعد كده in step 7 and 8. Some researchers they use qualitative research to help explain and understand why a certain outcome appeared, why this hypothesis is true and why this hypothesis is false. So some people use qualitative research for later on discovery, for later on explanation to my hypothesis testing. So many times, especially today, you can find a mixed research approach, qualitative and quantitative. Some marketeers, they like qualitative because it gives them exploration, it gives them examples of specific experiences, opinions, ideas. It makes them understand. With this understanding, they're able to conduct quantitative research. They're able to select variables. They're able to write hypotheses. They're able to explain why this hypothesis is true or false. So sometimes qualitative research adds value to quantitative by telling us the right protocols to follow and by helping us after analysis. Is this clear? Is this clear?
تمام يا دكتور.
Okay. How do I conduct qualitative research? Is it one approach or is there several approaches? When it comes to collecting qualitative data or conducting qualitative research, there are three main approaches. We have interviews, we have focus groups, we have observation. When it comes to interviews, it is one-to-one discussion, verbal discussion. When it comes to focus groups, it is one-to-many. The researcher talks to many people at the same time. When it comes to observation, there's no discussion, but it's watching. It's watching the actual environment, studying the people from afar. Now, which one is preferred? مفيش حاجة اسمها كده, but you have to know that each one has advantages and disadvantages. What do you think is the advantages and disadvantages of interviews? Let's begin with interviews first. When should I use interviews? When should I use focus groups? But let's focus on interviews عشان ما نتوهش بعض. What's the advantages of using interviews?
Meeting customer face to face and asking them many questions.
Okay, meeting customers face to face, asking them many questions. إيه كمان؟
Gaining more information.
Gaining more information. إيه كمان؟ Like what May said, the advantages of interviews, it's to get more information from the person. Because you're only focused with one person, you can ask as many questions you need to this person directly to him or her. So one of the benefits or advantages of interviews, it's to get in-depth and detailed information about this person's experience, about this person's opinion. Another advantage.
ممكن برضه يا دكتور نقول ان هو يعني الانترفيوز يعني بيبقى فيها صحية كلام اكتر، بمعنى ان هي بتبقى easy correction of speech، يعني ان انا مش يبقى عندي misunderstanding، ان انا في اي ميستيك ممكن اسمعه مثلا لو كان عن طريق الفون، تمام، لان انا انترفيور دوت مش بيبقى physically represent، ماشي في بورد ما بينه وما بين انا بعمل له انترفيو، وبعمله برضه development للريليشن شيب، ان انا شايفه فيس تو فيس، تمام. وممكن برضو ان انا بما ان انا يعني انا بشوفه فيزيكال، فممكن اعمل له يعني suitable selection للكانديديت اللي انا عايزه. لو انا بعمل انترفيو لحد ماشي، فده برضو بيهيئ لي ان انا اعمل له selection of suitable candidate. وعشان كده دلوقتي بقى في السي فيز لازم بيبقوا حاطين الصوره ليهم، ان ده برضو بيساعدهم على حاجه، يعني ان هو في الاختيار. فبرضو الانترفيوز اللي هو بتبقى فيس تو فيس ده بيساعده ان انا اعرف اعمل selection suitable candidate، تمام. وبرده لو هنتكلم عن انفورميشن في برايمري وسكندري وترشري، تبقى الانترفيو دوت بيبقى الفيرست ستيب اللي انا بكولكت منه برايمري انفورميشن، وتبقى سفشنت، يعني تبقى يعني غالبا تبقى سفشنت وبشتغل فيها على برايمري انفورميشن. وتاني كان في برضو ممكن اعمل فيها ان انا بحفظ، يعني مش تايم كونسيومينج. في حاجات تانية ممكن تبقى تايم، ممكن برضو في حاجات تانية ما بتبقاش تايم كونسيوم، بتبقى تايم كونسيومينج، انما الانترفيو بتبقى غالبا اكترهم تايم سيفنج ماشي، واقلهم تكلفة.
Okay.
تمام.
خالد, when it comes to time consuming and تكلفة, هقول لك الفيس ممكن الفوكس جروب يبقى أحسن. Because هقول لك focus group, I speak to one person at a time. So one discussion can take an hour. If I'm going to talk to 10 individuals, this is 10 hours. Compared to a focus group, ممكن أقعد مع 10 مع بعض وأسألهم نفس الأسئلة وأخد 3 ساعات بدل 10 ساعات.
تمام. انا مش انا برضو كان قصدي ان هو مش الانترفيو فيس تو فيس 1 تو 1، يعني هو انا لسه عشان ما اعرفش الفوكس جروب، ممكن ده يكون انترفيو مع اكتر من حد قاعدين، اللي هو بيبقى مثلا جروب انترفيو.
اوكي.
لا انا قصدي ان هو
discussion face to face.
فيس ممكن يكون مش شرط ان هو فيس تو فيس، لا يعني انا قاعد معايا جروب كامل. تمام.
yes.
مش لا يعني دي من الادفانتجز اللي انا كنت ببقى عارفها في الانترفيو.
Thank you for your contribution. You're correct.
تمام.
The majority of what you said was correct. When it comes to كلمة interview, by default, it means one-to-one discussion, not one-to-many. If it's ever going to be one-to-many, then by default, we're going to call it focus groups. الاتنين نفس الفكرة, face-to-face discussion, talking. بس instead of نفر كذا نفر نفس التوقيت. So when it comes to interviews, it's one-to-one discussion with the sample population. The researcher, he or she discusses the topic with the individual confidential by himself in a customized manner. This is an advantage. They talk to the interview in a position or in a time that's convenient for this person. Because I'm talking to him alone, I can ask whatever I want and he can tell me whatever he wants conveniently. This approach, interviews, one-to-one, it's very good if your topic is a sensitive topic. في certain topics, for example, have you ever stolen a product before? I won't feel comfortable discussing this topic with other people. But if it's a research study and it's me and the researcher, I might talk about it by ourselves. Now, when it comes to analysis, it's simpler. Why? Because I have one discussion at a time. بدل ما يبقى مجموعة ناس وكل واحد قال رأيهم ولازم filter it out now, it's already filtered. Interviewee 1, interviewee 2, interviewee 3. So when it comes to data analysis, it's a bit easier compared to a focus group. When it comes to scheduling an interview, it's a bit easier because I'm taking the opinion of one person, not 10, for example. Now, when it comes to the disadvantages of an interview, data collection is longer. And I have to do sequentially, one after one after one. When it comes to another disadvantage, it's costly. Because if I'm going to rent a room by hour, it's going to require a lot of hours. When it comes to conducting one-to-one interview, I have to be very skilled in communication. So I don't embarrass a person, or so I can make him feel comfortable to talk to me. So I have to have high interpersonal skills. Now, when it comes to one-to-one discussion, a disadvantage is لو ناسي مفيش حد يفكره في point of view compared to a focus group. When it comes to a focus group, it's like an interview, but the discussion isn't with one person, it's with many person. الماني ده كم رقم؟ maximum 10, minimum 5, average 8. So a focus group is a group interview, you can say. Now, when you have people talking, it has its advantages and disadvantages. When it comes to advantages, I get a lot of information. It allows people to encourage other people to speak. It allows people to remember opinions, because if I open a topic, ممكن ده يفكر حد بحاجة تانية. It enables a researcher to spend a minimum amount of time to collect a lot of information. Now, the disadvantages is, when it comes to analysis, الداتا كتيرة قوي. It's intermingled together. So you have to spend a lot of time filtering out the data. Number 2, disadvantage is that لو في شخص شخصيته جامدة ممكن يأثر في آراء الناس التانية. So sometimes if a focus group has a strong member, he can influence the opinions of other people, or he can make the other people embarrassed and not talk freely. Now, when conducting a focus group, the researcher cannot be alone. He needs the help of another person. This another person is called the moderator. الشخص ده بيعمل إيه؟ When it comes to discussion, human nature ساعات بنطلع برا الموضوع. So the moderator, his role is to bring us back to the main topic. Now, human nature, some people are more talkative than the other. So the role of the moderator, he needs to try to encourage people to talk. So if someone is talking a lot, the moderator will try politely to tell this person, okay, خلاص أخدت دورك اللي بعده. Therefore, when it comes to conducting a focus group, you need to have a good moderator. A moderator that has the coordination skills. So far, so good? Okay. When it comes to observation, it's not discussion. When it comes to observation, it's not discussion. Observation means, or there's another word for it, it's called field research. Field research means that as a researcher, I'm going to sit in the market for a long time, and I'm going to observe and take notes. I'm going to act like a surveillance. You know, I'm going to act like a surveillance camera. I'm the surveillance. Now, when it comes to observation, there's two approaches. We have active and we have passive observation. When it comes to passive observation, this means that the researcher, he goes in the market and he sits in the corner and just watches people. People do not notice he exists. People do not know what this person is doing. Full stop. He's like a stalker, if you think about it. When it comes to interactive or active observation, this means that the researcher, لا هو مش هيقعد ساكت. He's going to be participative مع الناس. He's going to pretend to be one of them. And he's going to function and interact in the environment to see people's reaction. So when we talk about active observation, it means the researcher, he is an actor. He's going to interact with the studied population to see their reactions, to see their comments, to see their behaviors. Have you ever heard of mystery shoppers before? سمعتوا عن mystery shoppers?
No.
No? والباقيين؟
Yes يا دكتور, part of my job كمان.
حلو. يعني ايه mystery shopper؟ بيعملوا ايه؟
بخش act as ان انا customer, اشوب for the promo, اشوب for the product, واشوف بقى البروسيس اللي ماشي بيها السيلز او الريتيلر, هي اللي مرسومه من عندنا يعني في البلان ولا لا, وبس.
Exactly. When it comes to a mystery shopper, it's a kind of data collection that's done undercover. Meaning the headquarters, they want to know if a branch is following the policy with the consumers or is following a certain level of quality or standard in performance. How will the headquarter do it? Will I do an audit? I can do an audit, بس أكيد لما يعرفوا إن في audit ممكن يحسنوا نفسهم بسرعة قبل ما يجي. So if I don't want to announce I'm going to audit, I can do a surprise investigation without them knowing I'm investigating. I can hire someone to pretend he is a consumer or he is a client. And this consumer will go to the headquarters or will go to the branch and pretend he's shopping and see what people do or see how the employees act. So in this case, the guy or the girl that went, the mystery shopper, الستور ما يعرفش إنه he's auditing them. The mystery shopper is interacting normally as if he's a normal consumer, but deep down, he is not. Deep down, he's studying them. This is interactive observation. Now, when it comes to data collection through observation, they say it's very, very, very important. People choose to do observation after interviews because they believe that observation helps the researcher collect true life data. They believe that observation is one of the approaches that actually collects people's actual behavior. People, when they know they're being studied, بيرسموا الدور كده. They might exaggerate or they might polish the situation compared to when they do not know they're being studied. So when it comes to observation, because people don't know that they are being investigated, they act completely natural. So actually, the researcher is seeing a microscope or a microscope of the actual scenario without it being polished. And I'll give you an example. I showed you parts of this video last lecture, but I'm going to complete the video right now. Okay. All right, this is a study. They want to know, would people help the poor? Yes or no? In this research, they did two phases. Phase 1, interview, and then phase 2, observation, to see what the people said. Do they apply it? Yes or no?
Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm in Santa Monica. I want to know if people will act differently if they know they're on camera. I'm going to interview people asking would they help the homeless people, and if they say yes, I have an actor acting homeless a couple hundred feet away from I interviewed them. And let's see if people act differently when they're not on camera.
Okay, this is an artificial setting. Why? The homeless person is fake, not real. And everyone who participated took $10 during the interview.
Would you help people who, like in the street or people who need help? If you see them, would you ever help them or you wouldn't help them?
Do you mean like homeless people?
Yeah, homeless. For example, homeless people, would you help them?
Yes.
I wouldn't give a homeless person like money. I'd just give them food.
So if you see a homeless person and he says he's hungry, you will like just maybe buy some food and then give it to him.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but yeah, I would.
If you have an opportunity, you see someone in need and help, would you ever help them or give them like a hand?
Well, if it's in the capacity that I can, yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I've done it.
Oh, you done it?
Yeah, I've done it.
I've done it. I'd like to think yes, because it's generally the right thing to do, or always the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think that, everyone has a low point in their life. So you can either do something to pick someone up. It's a good idea.
In a society, some people are rich, some people are poor, and some people are homeless. If you see people like in needs and help, would you ever help them?
Yeah, I do all the time.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If we should all help each other because you never really know when you might need it in return.
I'm pretty religious, and I think that, God has some abilities to progress farther in life, and that you should give back.
Oh, I always, truly from my heart, help. I really do. I have a son that is homeless and drug addicted and mental illness. And so whenever I see someone that I can possibly help, because I don't know their story, I just try to do the best I can, even, a dollar or just to say hi to them,
If you see someone that need help, you will help them.
Always, as much as I can.
Okay, so during the interviews, everyone said what? They will help the homeless, and everyone gave a justification. One said, because I'm religious. Another person said, I will do it according to my capabilities. Another person said, it's the right thing to do. Another person said, I have to. Mr. Shanhaga, my son is also homeless. So if I do khair, I want someone else to help my son if he's ever in need. So every single person that he interviewed said, yes, I will give money to the poor. In reality, do they do what they have said? So the researcher decided to observe these people. So when they walked by a homeless actor, what did they do? Did they help him or did they ignore him?
Guys have any money for food, please? Anything? God bless. Excuse me, you guys have any money for food? Anybody have any money for food? No? God bless. Excuse me, did you spare some money for some food? Nothing? Anything? Thank you. You guys have any money for food? You guys have any money for food? No, I'm sorry. Thanks anyway. What's this? Hi. Oh, thank you. Can I have a high five? Attaboy. Yeah.
So the people, did they do what they said they do? Did the people do what they said they do?
No, they didn't.
They didn't. So many researchers, if they're going to do a qualitative study, they like to combine interviews with observations, a focus group with observations. They prefer observations over other qualitative research because when people don't know that they are being studied, they act completely natural. And this is what we want. We want to know the natural elements. We don't want a fake or a cleaned up version. So we say that with observation, we collect a true life data description because the people being studied are not aware that they're being studied. So they act completely as they do in normal days. And this is important. And this is a real life example of people saying something and acting something totally different. So when it comes to observation, when it comes to qualitative data, you get to choose. Do you want focus groups? Do you want interviews? Do you want observation? Now, when it comes to recording qualitative data, focus groups and interviews must be recorded. So you have to tell or take permission that you will record the interviews عشان بعد كده هنستعمل a recording للanalysis. When it comes to observation, do we record? The answer is no. It is unethical to record people when they don't know they're being studied. So when it comes to observation, it is replaced with detailed description and note-taking. Detailed description and note-taking. Okay. Whether I do an interview, whether I do a focus group, whether I do an observation, it comes in three structures. It comes in unstructured, it comes in structured, it comes in semi-structured. Unstructured means, let's use interviews for example. أنا قررت أعمل interviews. because I chose a sensitive topic and I want the person to feel comfortable talking alone with no audience. If I'm going to do an unstructured interview, معناها هخش من غير preparation وهسأل الأسئلة اللي بيطلع في دماغي. Whatever pops in my mind, I will ask. So when we talk about unstructured interviews, this is when there's no planned sequence of questions being asked. Now, the disadvantage here is that if I do 5 different interviews, هلاقي نفسي each interview في أسئلة شكل مختلفين. How will you analyze? How will you compare people's responses? You won't be able to. عشان الداتا مختلفة. عشان كده هعملوا حاجة اسمها structured. Structured means that as a researcher, I am going to plan the questions beforehand. And I'm going to plan the sequence, الترتيب كمان. And when I do my interview, I'm going to ask question 1, then question 2, then 3, until 10, if I only have 10 questions. Now, if I ask question number 4, والشخص مش فهمها, ما أقدرش أغير في صيغة السؤال. ده العيب في structured interviewing. Another عيب في structured interviewing, لو أنا سألت سؤال رقم 5 وهو رد على سؤال 5 وكمان رد على سؤال 7. When it comes to question 7, I will have to ask it again. But he already answered it. I still have to ask it again. Therefore, I give the person in front of me the impression أنا مش مركز معه في كلام عشان هو قالها خلاص. بس I know he said it, but I still have to ask it again. So we created something called the semi-structured. Yes, I'm going to have a predetermined list of questions. I'm going to have 10 questions and I'm going to plan it beforehand. However, the 10 questions, when I do the interviews, there will be customization to suit the discussion and to suit the person I'm talking to. What do I mean by customization? I asked question number 2. الشخص جاوب سؤال غلط، ما فهمش السؤال. هروح للسؤال اللي بعده؟ لا. هزود بقى سؤال تاني عشان ارجعه في الموضوع او ارجعه في تاني في الداتا اللي I want to collect. So in this interview, there was an extra question asked. Why? Because when I asked one of the questions, he replied wrong. He took it in a different perspective. I wanted another perspective. So I had to add more questions to get my perspective that I needed. Let's say I asked question number 4 and he doesn't understand us on the question. He's like, can you please reword it? يبقى I can reword it. ممكن أشوف كلمات تانية ينفع مع الشخص ده. Let's say I asked question 4 and he answered question 4 and question 7. خلاص مش لازم أسأل سؤال رقم 7 عشان هو رد. أنا عندي الرد خلاص. This is called semi-structured interviews أو semi-structured focus group أو semi-structured observation. Now, in order to conduct semi-structured interviews or observations or focus group, I need something called an interview guide, or I need something called just a guide. What is an interview guide or a focus group guide or an observation guide? Basically, it's a list of the main topics that you want to study. And under each topic, you have a list of questions you want to ask. So in order to do semi-structured interviews, you need a guide. A guide is like a template that looks like this, for example. Now, the purpose of this template is that it helps the researcher reflect the knowledge that should be sought. It outlines what are the topics that need to be discussed. And in each topic, it tells me what are the questions I have to ask. So when I do an interview guide, I do an interview guide to help with the flow of the discussion, to help remember the main questions I need to ask. When it comes to the interview guide, it usually has 3 columns. It has a column called key area. It has a column called questions, and it has a column called purpose of the question. The key area means the theme of discussion. Usually, the key areas are the variables you want to study. Let's do an example. Okay, so my problem definition. I want to investigate the impact of price, product availability, and quality on customer satisfaction. So we're going to have the introduction section, which is usually the ice breaking. The ice breaking of the topic. Introduce to them lightly the topic. And then in each other section, it's going to be the variables. So variable number 1, price. Variable number 2, quality. Quality. Variable number 3, availability. Variable number 4, which is a dependent variable, it's going to be customer satisfaction. I have how many sections? I have section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 key areas. Okay, let's begin with the introduction. Maybe I want to start the question or the interviews by asking, in your opinion, what makes you satisfied with a fashion brand? Explain your comment. Okay, let me change the topic towards fashion. Okay. What is your favorite fashion brand? Why? Okay, so in the introduction question, I decided to have how many questions? I decided to have 2 questions. The first question, what is your favorite fashion brand? Why did I ask this question? To identify the preferred brands among consumers. Okay. Question number 2, in your opinion, what makes you satisfied with fashion brands? Why did I ask this question? I asked this question to pinpoint the independent variables that lead to satisfaction. The third column, which is called purpose of the question, it is made for the researcher to think هو ليه سأل السؤال ده؟ لو ما يعرفش يجاوب why he asked this question, then خلاص ما تسألش. عشان احنا مش عايزين نضيع وقت. It's not the idea of asking a lot of questions. No, it's the idea of asking a question that will get me the needed knowledge that I'm looking for. When it comes to interviews or when it comes to focus groups or observation, who creates the question? The researcher. Because he knows what he does not know. He knows what he wants. He knows the factors that he wants to familiarize himself with. So he is in position to ask the questions اللي هيساعده يفهم الموضوع أكتر. Okay, price. What could I ask about price?
value against price بقى الفاليو مناسبة بالنسبة لك ولا لا؟
Okay, so value comparison. This is the purpose of my next question. So I might ask, when purchasing fashion, does price play a role in your decision? Yes. Explain your answer. Or why or why not? In an interview or in a focus group, لازم تسأل why and explain. عشان الشخص ما يقولش yes ويقف. لو قال yes ووقف ما شرحش وجهة نظره هتفهموا ايه؟ مش هتفهموا حاجة. So you always have to ask, explain why or why not, how so? Now, when purchasing fashion, does price play a role in your decision? I want to know value comparison with price. Well, price is important when it comes to buying fashion. في ناس هيقولوا لا. The trend is more important. في ناس هيقولوا price plays a big role because there's so many other competitors. So if this is very expensive, then I'll go to the next competitor. If a product is expensive, but you believe it's pretty, would you still buy it? Why or why not? Price impact on purchase decision. So in section number 3, key area number 3, when it comes to price, سألت 2 أسئلة. So in number 1, I wanted to know the value, the fashion value when it comes to price. And I want to know price. لو غالي هنشتري ولا لا؟ لسه هنشتري؟ Okay. Quality. What can I ask about quality? What can I ask about quality?
ممكن نعمل ريليتد يا دكتور ما بين الديبارتمنت بتاع الكواليتي والبرايسنج، يعني انك انت هل عندك القابليه انك انت تدفع فلوس اكتر بس الكواليتي تبقى احسن، ولا انت بتيجي عند satisfying limit مش هتدفع اكتر من كده مهما زادت الكواليتي؟
Okay. Do you believe that price indicates quality? And would you pay for quality? Would you pay a high price for quality? Explain. The importance of quality with the price payment. Okay. Is there another question I could ask?
ممكن يا دكتور الشيب ولا الكواليتي؟
Okay. What kind of quality are you looking for in fashion?
ممكن يعني زي مثلا هل بتهتم بالماتيريال ولا بتهتم بالشكل؟
More about the material or the style when buying fashion. Okay, so do you care more about the material or the texture of the clothes or the style when buying fashion? Motive for buying fashion. Is quality a motive? Yes or no? Okay. When it comes to availability, what can I ask? نعم.
انا عندي سؤال فيها بس مش عارف اجمعه يعني انك انت هل عندك يعني availability بتاعت الستورز مثلا او availability بتاعت المنتج تكون قريبه منك، يعني هل انت ممكن مثلا، هل انت براند لويال عندك استعداد لو انت مفيش ستورز في الاريا بتاعتك، هي الستور بتبقى في الاماكن الكبيره، هل انت عندك استعداد تسافر علشان انت براند لويال وهتروح تجيبه من هناك، ولا ممكن اي براند يعمل لك ساتيسفاينج للنيد عندك؟
Okay. So if the required product that you want to purchase is not easy to find, will you place effort to search for it? Explain. So here, the purpose is to see will availability, will lack of availability make people lazy to buy the product?
او ممكن برضو يا دكتور نقول هنا availability impact on the consumer loyalty.
Availability impact on purchase. ما قلتش سيرة loyalty. Now,
نعم.
No. What else can I ask?
ممكن هل هو عايزه available في كل مكان ولا في selected places عشان البراند image كجزء من البراند image بتاعه.
Okay. Should products be available in more than one place for you to be satisfied to buy the product? Explain. So, availability of product, distribution, impact on availability of product. Okay. Next key area, customer satisfaction. What can I ask?
ممكن ده دكتور يكون related بالكاستمر جوه الستوري يعني. ولا حضرتك تقصدي بيه ايه؟
Customer satisfaction overall with fashion, what satisfies you? هو أنا سألت سؤال فوق. In your opinion, what makes you satisfied with fashion brands? This is the question to pinpoint independent variables. ممكن أسأل, for example, what makes you satisfied with your favorite brand in fashion? Why? Why these factors? ممكن ده تأكيد الواجب للسؤال الأولاني. And this is how you create an interview or a focus group guide. Know the main sections you want to discuss. And in each section, write your question. بس only write the question لو عنده هدف معين. لو مش عارفة تفكري في هدف يبقى ما تسأليش السؤال ده أصلاً. Now, we are in position to write the questions because our questions reflect the knowledge that we want, reflects the knowledge that we need to be familiar more with the topic. خلي بالكم احنا مش بنقيس حاجة. So the questions doesn't have to be scientific. The questions doesn't have to be the right question to be asked. It's subjective. It is subjective. So right now, it is 4:50. It's 4:50. صح؟ Yeah, no, it's 3:50, excuse me. It's 3:50. Let's return back at 4:30. What I want you guys to do I want each group to do another Zoom link. وعايزاكم تعملوا interview guide layer study variables. I haven't confirmed the model. So what I would like you to do is on top, draw me the model that you want to study and to do your interview guide so I know what exactly you're studying. So what I would like you guys to do, for example, is to draw a model. Price. Let's see. And its impact. And its impact on customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is to go to your groups and work on the interview guide. I will send you right now the interview guide on WhatsApp so you can work on it. At 4:30, we will return again so we can know or learn how to analyze the interview guide. خلاص? So what I would like you guys to do right now is I want you right now in the WhatsApp, I'll email to you right now, ثانية واحدة. ثانية واحدة. Okay, I'm going to send right now the interview guide to all of you. I want you to, in groups, work on the interview guide as a group, and then you're going to send it back to me on email. Okay, did you guys receive it?
Dr. Wasfa.
Okay, what I would like you guys to do now is to work on the interview guide. At 4:30, we will return back to illustrate the analysis. In the interview guide, I want you to send it to me on email. My email is I will type my email. Do you have my email? No?
أنا متابع دكتور.
نعم؟
حضرتك يعني يا ريت قبل تبعتيه واتساب.
Iman_Medhat. Yeah. Okay. When you're done with the interview guide, send it to me and I will check it and I will give you the approval for you to conduct the interviews. We will meet again now at 4:30. Is a half an hour good enough to work as a group or do you want longer? I want the interviews by today. So half an hour or should we meet 4:45?
انت حضرتك عاوزانا بس نملى صح؟
عايزاه النهارده. Please send me at 4:30, the interview guide and the model. Okay, so yalla, leave this Zoom and go to your Zoom with your group, work on the interview guide. I am here if you have questions. I'm not going anywhere. خلاص؟
اوكي يا دكتور تمام.
Okay, we'll work in groups now and come back. At 4:30. So هشوفكم 4:30 and we'll discuss about the analysis.
في البرنامج؟
دكتور الو
احنا لسه مين بيتكلم؟
ايوه هي الدكتوره كانت قالت انا هبقى موجوده، كنت عايزه اقول لها على حاجه.
لا لسه
طيب تمام.
Welcome back. Did you guys email me the interview guide?
هو بعت لحضرتك يا دكتور وصل؟
I will check right now.
Okay.
No, not yet.
هو ظاهر عندي ان هو بعت لحضرتك، طب ابعته على الواتساب؟
Eman_meta@yahoo. Yes, please. لو كده تبعتها لي على الواتساب, please.
Okay.
Okay. How about the rest? Did you guys finish the interview guide? The interview guide plus model? What I'm going to do is I'm going to check it and reply back to you guys tomorrow for confirmation for the questions.
دكتور دكتور
Yes.
ممكن ربع ساعة كمان، احنا لسه مخلصناش.
Okay, let me teach the 2 or 3 slides. For the 3 slides, let me teach it and then work on it and email it to me after the lecture.
تمام يا دكتور.
Okay?
تمام.
Okay. Now, when it comes to analyzing the qualitative data, is there a software? There is a software. There's a software called NVivo. Have you heard of it before? NVivo. Well, it's a qualitative data analysis program, computer program. It's available free online. It helps analyze qualitative research. It organizes and analyzes the insights into ideas, into common similarities. But there's a disadvantage to the program. What is the disadvantage? If I want to say today is a beautiful day, I can say it's a sunny day. It's an amazing day. It's a day not made for work. It's a day I wish I was at the beach. There's so many ways to explain it's a beautiful day. This program will not combine it together because there's no similar common words mentioned. So until today, many people, yes, they can use the program, but they prefer to use it manually as well, or conduct the analysis manually as well. So the analysis that is conducted manually, it is called thematic analysis. You can find it as content analysis. When it comes to thematic analysis or content analysis, the idea here is to identify and to interpret patterns found across the meaning of the qualitative data. It's when the researcher reviews all the interviews that were conducted and identifies what is the commonality of the consumers or the individual's responses. When it comes to thematic analysis, it's a step-by-step procedure. It's a 6-step procedure. Step 1, all interviews or focus groups must be recorded. Once you record the interviews, you then transcribe the interviews. What does transcription mean? Transcription means that I put the interviews into writing. For example, the researcher stated the question. The interviewee said, blah, 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 blah. Question 2, the interview's response. Question 3. So it's like Sin Wagim in writing, taking the audio and putting it into writing. Once you transcribed all the interviews, you then combine all the interviews together. When you combine all the interviews together, you code and you categorize them and you report the important quotes that were mentioned. And then at the end, you identify the theme. What I usually do when I do qualitative analysis, let's see an example. Okay, let's use when purchasing fashion. Okay, let's use this question for the analysis. Okay. Question. When purchasing fashion, does price play a role in decision making? Why or why not? So if the interviewee is going to answer, there's three options of responses. He can say yes, he can say no, or he can say maybe. Correct? Okay, let me do this interview with you guys. So, Ahmed Hamid, when purchasing fashion, does price play a role in your decisions? Yes or no? Ahmed Hamid. Ahmed Tariq. Ziad, does that price play a role in your fashion buying behavior?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
ولا يكون يا دكتور affordable يعني في بتبقى بعض البراندز ان هو بيعمل ليميتنج ان هو اصلا انا مش عايز ارخص المنتج بتاعي ومش عايز اخليه رخيص لان انا موجهه لفئه معينه بتديهم سوشيال ايمج او ايجو معين تمام. فده بيأثر عليا على عمليه الشراء بتاعتي للمنتج. وفي ناس برضو بتبقى عايزه حاجه ايكونوميك فيعني البرايسنج غالبا موجه على حسب السيجمنت اللي انا ببيع ليه الكاتيجوري بتاع البراند.
Okay.
According to budget برضه يا دكتور.
According to budget. Okay. I purchase certain brands according to budget. Okay. Who didn't? Fruit. What about you? Amira.
أيوة دكتور مع حضرتك.
Okay. When you buy fashion, does price play a role in your decision? Yes or no?
معلش دكتور قولي تاني.
When buying fashion, does price play a role in your decision?
ايه اللي بيأثر على الديسيشن بتاعي؟
Does price in front of you, look at the screen.
Price. اوكي.
لما تشتري لبس الأسعار بيفرق معاكي؟
ايوه ما بفكر يس.
Yes? Okay. Why?
يعني اشوف ان هي مناسبه يعني في الكوست المناسب ليا ان انا اشتريه ولا لا.
Okay.
دكتور ممكن نفكر من وجهة نظر تانية ان احنا نقول نو انه لا مجرد ان هي بتعجبني خلاص مش هفكر في السعر.
If I like it, I will buy it. Another person might say yes. I don't buy clothes. I don't buy quantity. I buy quality. So for some people, مش بكتر اللبس هي I can buy one piece or two piece, so price doesn't matter. How about Ayman? Does price play a role in your opinion when it comes to fashion? Islam Yahya, does price play a role in your fashion?
معلش يا دكتور تاني.
It's in front of you, the question. When buying fashion, does price play a role in your decision making? Do you care about price when buying clothing? Islam.
مع حضرتك يا دكتور. مع حضرتك.
ماشي رد على السؤال بقى. لما بتشتري لبس بتفكر في الأسعار؟ Why?
عشان لكل سعر ليه قيمة معينة لازم اشتري عليها.
Meaning لو حاجة حلوة قوي يستحق ال expensive price ولا لا برضو بتفكر؟
طبعا هشتري.
Can you please say it in a sentence حتى لو بالعربي بس so I can write what you say?
لو المنتج ليه قيمة تستحق اللي أنا أشتري عليها بالسعر ده هشتريه.
Okay, so يبقى price ملهاش لو حاجة يستحق هتدفع السعر whatever it's written. Correct? Okay. How about Hagar? What do you think? Khulud, what do you think?
هو ممكن أكون أنا محددة بادجت معينة فلو هي أوفر عنها ممكن ما أخدش الديسيشن.
Alright, so when I go shopping, I have a price range that I cannot exceed. So yes, price plays a role. Okay, one more and then we'll analyze.
دكتور أنا مع حضرتك معلش I'm sorry.
ماشي
حاضر.
حاضر. When you buy fashion, does price play a role?
اوكي انا اسفه يا دكتور معلش
لا، والله it's okay.
تاني دقيقه.
أبنون ما سمعتش رأيك. What do you think?
انا ابنوب جمال مع حضرتك يا دكتور. هيبقى لا في ليميت يعني في بادجت معين بشتري ويزن البادجت ده فليه رول طبعا.
There is a budget. So now, according to the interviews, the majority believes what?
سوري على المقاطعه. انا كنت هرد بس انا عشان عندي بيبي بس بتعمل دوشه جامده فبضطر اقفل معلش انا متاسفه.
لا no worries, I totally understand. Okay, when you go shopping, does price play a role?
No, يعني في الغالب لا ببقى يعني الحاجه اللي بتبقى عجباني ممكن ان انا ادفع برايس اكتر من اللي انا عامله له بادجت يعني ان انا عامله حسابي على حاجه معينه ممكن احاول اجيبها من اي حاجه تانية انا عامله حسابي عليها.
I'll find a way. Okay, so now according to the majority, do they buy stuff regardless of the price or price plays a consideration?
Price plays a consideration.
Price plays a consideration. So if we look at the theme here among the educated Egyptians, price does play a role in purchasing. You see this table that we did? We reduced, we rearranged, and we combined how many interviews? Here, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 interviews. We selected and we coded. Yes, the codes are either yes or no or maybe. We selected the important quotes. Yes. Oh. Did we identify the theme? What is the theme? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So according to what we did in this table, we achieved step 3, 4, and 5. Step 3, we reduced, rearranged, and we combined all the interviews. Yes, we did 15 interviews right now, and I combined it all in one table. Did I code the answers? Yes. Here's code 1. Yes. Code 2, maybe. Code 3, no. Did I select the important quotes? I hold the important quotes. Now it's time to do a theme. What is the theme? It's the main conclusion you arrived. The theme is the main conclusion that you arrived when asked this question. It's the main conclusion or patterns of thoughts. Patterns of thoughts. Okay. If we take another question, for example, in your opinion, what makes you satisfied with fashion brands? Here now, it's not a yes or no question. So what could be the people's responses? Let's take an example. Who would like to begin to answer this question? Let me check. Let's begin with Ziad. In your opinion, what makes you satisfied with fashion?
معلش what makes sorry
What makes you satisfied with fashion?
Affordable price and good material.
Okay. Why?
Price to be within budget and to be affordable.
Okay. And material?
I think the same reason. Yeah, material proves that it's affordable or it
indicate
durable مثلا.
affordability. Okay. Who said durable?
Dr. Iman.
أنا يا دكتور مي.
May. So May said material affordability. I would say material.
Iman.
Yes.
انا خدمه حضرتك ممكن بس بعد اذنك بس ممكن استاذن النص ساعه ديت عشان بس في ظرف عندي بس المفروض انا
اتفضل يا خالد.
نازل شغل ماشي بعتذر جدا لحضرتك شكرا.
Go ahead. Okay. For me, I would say material, so it can last. Okay. Abir, what's your opinion? In your opinion, what makes you satisfied? Ahmed Hamdi, what's your opinion?
حضرتك يا دكتور.
What's your opinion? What makes you satisfied with a brand?
I think يا دكتور ال value to added to me.
Okay. What kind of value? Tangible or intangible?
Maybe both.
Okay. So what's both? Explain your comment. I don't understand.
Okay. If I bought a brand maybe a t-shirt, the tangible value would be the use of it as a t-shirt, the objective of buying it as cloth. And intangible would be the brand itself. It's brand like Adidas or Nike. This is the brand I like.
Okay, so the brand image. So I can purchase. I have brands that I like. And if you said for the functionality. To wear something comfortable. Okay. Next, Ahmed Tore, what's your opinion? Why would you buy fashion? What makes you satisfied with fashion? Summer, what makes you satisfied with fashion? Osama. Okay, let's take the attendance.
ايوه دكتور مع حضرتك.
Osama? What makes you buy fashion?
ايه يا دكتور؟
What makes you buy fashion? What makes you satisfied with fashion?
هو ممكن مثلا على حسب الفاشن مثلا بتاع السيزون مثلا بيختلف مثلا الكواليتي او الديزاين او السعر بتاع الحاجه.
Okay, so price and material. Why?
واي مثلا ممكن اقول على حسب الفئه. يعني هي مثلا انا بكون قاصد مثلا فئه معينه بلبس السيزون ده. على حسب السيزون ما بتختلف من سيزون لسيزون، على حسب انا تارجت مثلا فئه الشباب او فئه السبورت مثلا.
Okay. So for you, you'll pay depending on the season. If it's a t-shirt, I might not pay a lot compared to if it's a jacket.
اكيد مثلا يعني هي بتختلف يعني اكيد الديزاين الفاشن او الديزاين هيختلف على حسب السيزون.
Okay, so now based on the analysis, what is the main theme? What's the conclusion?
The material.
The material.
الماتيريال أهم حاجة.
When it comes to customer satisfaction towards fashion, material plays a huge role. So remember when I said that when it comes to qualitative data, it helps you support the quantitative research. هو أنا جبت سيرة quality material? لا. In my research, I focused on price, availability, and quality. Maybe I can add a variable because of my qualitative analysis, or not. When I focus on quality, make sure to focus on the material. So this is the idea of the interviews, to develop lots of themes, main conclusions, main ideas to help you get familiar with the topic. These themes act as supporting material for me to select variables, for me to write hypotheses, for me to justify the conclusions of the study, why this happened. Now,
بعد إذنك يا دكتور.
Yes, اتفضلي.
يعني حضرتك يا دكتور يعني هو في الكونكلوجن لازم بركز او فوكس على يعني على حاجه واحده مثلا من اللي انا عملتها في الاول؟
لا لا خالص. انت عندك كم سؤال هنا؟ انا بالنسبه لي in my interview guide I have 2, 4, 6, 8 questions. 9 questions.
Yeah.
So depending on the number of questions that are found in the interview,
9 questions دول.
there will be the same number of themes.
تمام.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
according to my interviews, for example, according to the interviews, when finished, 9 themes emerged. These themes are: 1, most people are satisfied with fashion because of the materials. 2, most people in Egypt prefer the brand Nike and Zara. عشان فاكرة سؤالي أول سؤال, what is your favorite brand?
Yeah, Nike and Zara, yeah.
3, most people believe price is an important indicator of selecting a product. 4,
Yeah.
when it comes to quality, price does not play a role. For theme 5, do you care more about the material or the texture of the clothes or the style? 5, most people care more about how the clothing looks like more than the price or the quality. 5, it should be required a product you purchase and is not easy to find. 6, most people will shop online to find the product. 7, if the product is not in the store, they will buy something else. So the themes حسب الرقم الأسئلة الموجودة في الانترفيو جايد. الثيمز بيبقى جمل conclusions to the questions. الثيمز دول they act as themes act as supporting evidence that aids the researcher to confirm they selected the right variables from the literature. Okay, so the supporting evidence that aids them from so that they selected the right variables. It aids in understanding internal motives that is context specific. يعني context specific. يعني ال conclusions دول معمولين مخصوص للمصريين that are educated, for example. It aids the research to identify the direction of the hypothesis. So when it comes to hypothesis, the higher the price, the higher the satisfaction, or the lower the price, the lower satisfaction when it comes to this theme. When it comes to this question. The lower the price, the higher the customer satisfaction. So it helps us identify the direction of the hypothesis. It also helps later on to explain why the results came out the way it did. When finalizing the research testing. Is this clear so far? لكل الناس؟
Clear.
So when it comes to qualitative analysis, احنا عندنا systems كتيرة قوي موجودة, computer softwares that can do the analysis. The most popular one is NVivo. The most popular one, let me get it for you. It's NVivo. This is the logo. There's a free trial. Basically, you type all the interviews and you put it in the application. وهم they sort out the common words. بيقولوا 5 قالوا beautiful, قالوا 5 أو 6 قالوا quality, 6. They connect the words together. But sometimes I can explain something not using the word, but I have the same meaning or intention. So until today, many marketeers, they review the interviews manually. They use thematic analysis, which is a 6-step process. At the end, I want themes. What are themes? Main ideas that was emerged from the interview. Okay, I'm going to end today's lecture here. What I want you guys to do, those who did not email me or WhatsApp me your interview guide, please do. Please please email me the interview guide plus your model so I can check. I will check it and send it to you by tonight or tomorrow morning. You are required to do each group 5 interviews, and you are required to analyze the interviews. The analysis of the interviews ما ينفعش يتعمل لغاية لما الخمسة الانترفيوز اتكملت. So if you want to do the analysis of the interviews, you have to first record and transcribe all 5 interviews. بعد كده تقسموا الأسئلة على بعض. كل واحد يبقى مسؤول على سؤالين عشان يعرف يعمل الاناليسيس.
دكتور معلش تاني معلش تاني.
اوكي تاني ايه؟
يعني من الأول نعمل ايه الخمسة؟
What is required? Okay. احنا خلصنا عملنا research design last lecture. We filled out the template. Correct? The table. Now up to the data collection. Today we took qualitative data collection. Next week we're going to take quantitative. So عايزين نخلص بالqualitative. So required. What is required? Each group will conduct 5 interviews. Minimum. لو عايزين أكتر go ahead. Each group will transcribe the interviews. يعني transcription, you'll put it into writing. Then you will conduct the analysis. What kind of analysis? Theme analysis. The manual type of analysis. What we took right now. What I did in Word document. What I can do for you, I can save this Word document for you so you can have it as reference. Okay? Then, on a separate paper, write down all the themes that emerged.
معلش يا دكتور تاني بوينت كده اللي هي transcribe دي.
Transcribe.
أنا مش فاهم يعني إيه البوينت التاني.
Okay. Transcription. When you do the analysis, okay. When you do the analysis, all interviews are recorded. Once the interviews are recorded, you then transcribe. Yani e-transcription. Can someone answer this question? What does transcription mean? What's the idea of transcription?
زي documentation يا دكتور او putting الكونتكست في مكتوب يبقى in points او قدامنا في سكريبت يعني نعمل منه.
Yes, you're 100% correct. Transcription is putting the interviews into writing. Putting the interviews into writing. So for example, question 1, what do you prefer to do on a weekend? Explain. Interviewee. Well, interviewee. Well, I'm not sure. It depends on the weather. But in general, I usually go to the club. Okay, next question. Question 2. So this is an example of transcription. Did I answer your question? Okay. So you have to transcribe the interviews.
معلش دكتور سؤال تاني.
لا لا اتفضلي.
ال5 interviews ده يعني 5 persons ولا different interviews?
Different interviews.
Different variables.
No, same variables. مش ده الموديل بتاعتك؟
بالظبط.
ده الانترفيو
يعني 5 questions يا دكتور
لا مش 5 questions 5 interviews
مع 5 interviews مع 5 people.
Exactly 5 interviews.
تمام
يعني this is the interview guide. So عشان من نلخبطش.
احنا بنكلاريفاي
عندي
بس يا
دكتور
دكتور
يعني نفس
عشان
السؤال بس مع 5 أشخاص فنشوف ال5 إجابات.
Exactly. Required. Let's begin from all over again. Required. Today, email me the list of questions you are to ask people about your topic. The table that we just did right now. I will email you the approval. Once I approve your interview guide, you will then conduct 5 interviews. يعني إيه 5 interviews? You will ask 5 people. Okay. احنا 5 في الجروب so كل واحد هيسأل شخص. No problem. Next step, transcribe. يعني إيه transcribe? Example of transcription. Transcription means putting the interviews in writing. Putting the interviews in writing. Once you put the interviews in writing, you will then conduct the analysis. Which type of analysis? The manual type. اللي شكله إيه؟ اللي شكله what we did right now. This is the interview guide. This is the analysis. Okay. So example of analysis, question, and analysis. Okay. Once you did the analysis for each question, once you do the analysis for each question, you will summarize all the themes that emerged. Is this clear?
يعني
يا
دكتور
دكتور.
الانترفيو اللي احنا شغالين عليها دلوقتي او اللي احنا كنا شغالين عليها في البريك احنا وزمايلنا المفروض
Yes.
نبعتها لحضرتك الاول حضرتك تدينا كونفيرم عليها وانس
أيوة.
انها كونفيرمد ابتدي اشتغل فيها ككويشنير ل5 انترفيوز بعد كده اعمل عليها الاناليسيس هي نفس التمبلت صح كده؟
أيوة.
تمام ميرسي يا دكتور شكرا.
لكل الناس is it clear? I'm going to put this on the Moodle so you know what is expected. أنا مستنياكم النهاردة الإيميلز please so I can tell you go ahead approved. Okay?
احنا النهارده هنبعت لحضرتك بس الأسئلة اللي احنا هنعمل بيها الانترفيو صح كده؟
أيوة يا فاطمة الأسئلة بس.
تمام.
طب والباقي يا دكتور انا ابعته امتى بعد ما حضرتك تعملي ابروف عليه يعني؟
أني باقي؟
يعني بعد ما حضرتك هتقول لنا ابروف ونبدا نعمل الانترفيو.
أيوة هتعملوا الأناليسيس. خلصوا الأناليسيس عشان ده اللي هيتحط في الفاينل ريبورت. المرة اللي جاية إن شاء الله هناخد الكوانتيتيف how to do questionnaires. عشان كده عايزة أخلص الانترفيوز.
ايوه دكتور المفروض يعني نسلم لحضرتك بقى الاناليسيس دي امتى؟
Final مش final report in the final report. If you want to upload it for me to check, upload it for me to check. Send it to me on WhatsApp. Did I answer your question? Okay. إن شاء الله بكرة الامتحان. Please go. Sorry. If you go on marketing research, if you go on exams, you'll find the midterm exam. The midterm exam will start tomorrow at 2 o'clock, will end 4 o'clock. Please read the questions carefully. ما ينفعش to navigate. So حلوا سؤال كويس and then press next. ما تستعجلوش عندكم وقت. The exam is 30 questions. In reality, the exam isn't 30 questions, it's almost 10 or 15 questions. في أسئلة متعادة كذا مرة عشان بسأل مرة independent ومرة dependent. الحتة ديت واضحة؟
كله choices يا دكتور صح؟
لها choices يا آية.
مره على الديبندنت فاريبل يعني ومره على الاندبندنت، انا مش فاهم.
Exactly. Yes. مش فاهم. I'll give you an example. Okay. The marketeer believes that in order to increase sales, advertising, and personal selling is needed. What is the dependent variable? According to this case study, what is the dependent variable?
Sales.
Sales. Okay. How about independent variable?
Advertising and personal selling.
Great. How about moderating?
not mentioned.
Exactly. So أيوة هم 30 سؤال بس هتلاقي في سؤالين 3 متكررة عشان هي نفس السيتويشن بس بيتسأل حاجة تانية، واحدة مرة moderating مرة تانية independent. Is this clear محمد؟ كان محمد اللي مش فاهم صح؟
لا كلير يا دكتور، كلير خالص. بسيط.
Okay. وفي basic وapplied وفي 10 true and false. The true and false is very easy. يعني ما تتخضوش في true or false. This is extra bonus points. Okay. So بكرة الامتحان. Take the exam and then have a lovely weekend. Or اللي فاضل بقى.
Thanks يا دكتور.
You're welcome. Have a good night ومستنية الإيميلز إن شاء الله.
دكتور مفيش يا دكتور الامتحان صح؟
نعم؟
مفيش lecture بعد الامتحان.
مفيش lecture بعد الامتحان.
تمام.
Okay. Okay. If there's any technical problems, contact باشمهندس حسام. عندكم رقم تليفونه؟
معانا يا دكتور تليفونه، معايا رقم تليفونه حسام
لا
داوود.
مش معانا يا دكتور، مش
I will
معانا.
I will send it on the group. So if something happens IT wise, he will help you. Okay?
اوكي دكتور هو الوورد حضرتك هترفعيه امتى بتاع الكويشنز والاناليزز وكده؟
مش هتدفعي كام؟
Sorry.
No, I will upload it now. Right now. ثانية واحدة, let me save it.
دكتور معلش يا دكتور، هو الامتحان يعني على الاندبندنت والديبندنت وعلى الابلايد والبيزك.
From step 1 to step 5.
تمام. هو الترو والفولس بقى هيبقى عن ايه بالظبط؟
From step 1 to step 5. For example, the first step in research is conducting a literature review. It's observation. The dependent variable is the variable that impacts other variables. True or false? The dependent variable is a variable that impacts other variables. True or false?
ده سؤال ليه يعني؟
Anyone. It's false. It's the independent that بيأثر. Basic research is conducted when there is a current problem faced by the organization. True or false?
False. Apply.
False. It's applied. The moderating variable is a variable that impacts the relationship between the independent and dependent. True or false?
True.
هو دول الأسئلة اللي فعليا في الامتحان. It's understanding step 1 to step 5.
Yes. إن شاء الله خير.
إن شاء الله. خدوا وقتكم في الحل ما تستعجلوش. Okay? The exam is to the point. I'm not a person who likes to be indirect. لا, I'm to the point. Okay? Good luck, and I'll see you next time, inshallah. Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
شكرا دكتور باي.
Goodbye.